Well, every person who comes to me with IBS has already changed their diet. Most of them have changed it more than once. They have removed gluten, they have removed dairy, they have gone through the low FODMAP protocol. And some of them have done elimination diets that lasted months and weeks, removing food after food, testing, reintroducing, tracking in meticulous detail, and they are still symptomatic. So when they sit across from me in a consultation, waiting for me to ask what they are eating, actually, I do not ask, not first, not for a while, because in my experience, food is rarely where the IBS story begins. And if that is where we start, we are already looking in the wrong direction. So let's ask a very serious question. Why food is not the full picture? Let me explain what I mean. Because I'm not saying diet does not matter in IBS. It does. Food is a significant variable, but it is a trigger variable, not a casual one. And there is an important difference between these two. A trigger is something that sets off a reaction in a system that is already primed to react. Remove the trigger and the reaction does not happen. But the underlying reactivity is still there. So things have not been resolved. The system is still sensitive, still primed, still waiting to the next input to respond to. Well, this is the situation most IBS sufferers are actually finding themselves in. They have identified their triggers, they have removed many of them, and the gut is still reactive. Because removing a trigger does not change the underlying reactivity of the system. It just buys temporary fix or quite time, you can say. Think about this way. If you have a very sensitive smoke alarm, one that goes off when someone burns a toast or lights or a candle or simply opens the oven. Well, the solution is not to stop making toast forever, right? The solution is to understand why the alarm is calibrated so sensitively. So what happened to the next system that make it this reactive? That is a question we should be asking. What would it take to recalibrate it? That's the solution we are looking at. The IBS gut is an alarm that has been set too sensitive. Food pulls the trigger, but the sensitivity was there before the food. This is where the conversation about IBS almost always needs to go and almost never does, because the gut is not an isolated organ. It is a deeply integrated part of our body that is also breathing, holding tension, responding to stress, operating on a rhythm, and communicating constantly with your brain. When any of those things goes wrong, when the nervous system is dysregulated, when tension is chronic, when rhythm is disrupted, the gut pays the price. So let me tell you what I actually look at it in an IBS body. Before I look at food, before I look at supplements, before I look at anything that most people expect me to look at, there are 5 things. The first is the breath pattern or your breathing. In simple terms, I watch how a person breathes from the moment they sit down with me. I do a small abdominal breathing test, and what I see in the majority of IBS cases is the same thing: the shallow chest dominant breathing. The diaphragm is barely moving, the belly is held consciously or unconsciously, pulled in, braced, not participating in breath or respiration. This matters enormously for the gut because the diaphragm sits directly above the digestive organs. It's not a fancy muscle out there. It's used for respiration. Every full diaphragmatic breathing gently massages the intestines, stimulates the vagus nerve, and signals to the nervous system that the body is safe. When the diaphragm is restricted, when breathing is shallow, when chest is dominant, the signal is absent. It's missing. The gut is living in a low-grade stress state all day, every day. Not because anything stressful is happening, just because of how the person is breathing. The second is tension holding. Where does the person chronically brace? In most IBS bodies, the answer is the abdomen and the pelvic floor. This is a constant habitual tension in the belly, sometimes a visible gripping, sometimes subtle. They have a habit of contracting their abdomen for no reason, and this tension directly affects gut motility. The intestines need a degree of relaxation in the surrounding tissue to function normally, right? So chronic abdominal bracing is like trying to squeeze a tube of toothpaste from outside while also expecting it to flow freely, right? It does not work that way. The third is your meal rhythm, not what they are eating, when and in what state of mind and emotions they are eating. Are their meals regular? Are they eating sitting down with reasonable attention, in a reasonable calm state? So these are the questions we need to ask. Or our meals are grabbed on the go, eaten in front of a screen, skipped when busy, rushed when pressured. So the gut has a rhythm, right? A predictable cycle of digestive waves it follows. When it is given consistent timing and appropriate conditions, it works perfectly. Otherwise, it does not. And you disrupt that rhythm chronically, and the system becomes susceptible and unpredictable, which is, of course, the central experience of IBS. Fourth sign is anticipatory reactivity. This is one of the most important patterns in IBS and one of the least discussed. The gut flaring before food is involved, before a stressful meeting, before travel, before a social event, before anything that carries a charge of anxiety, or I would say uncertainty. The gut reacting not to what is happening, but to what might happen. This is the gut-brain axis in full expression. The brain anticipates that threat, the gut responds as if the threat has arrived. And once a person with IBS has experienced enough unpredictability, gut flares, the anticipation of the flare itself becomes a trigger then. Become anxious about their IBS, and the anxiety drives more IBS, becomes self-perpetuating, right? So no elimination diet addresses this, because this has nothing to do with food. The fifth sign is gut-body communication. Has this person developed any relationship, what their gut is actually telling them, or they have learned to fear it, ignore it, or even override it? In many chronic IBS cases, the person has completely lost trust in their gut. They manage it, they control it somehow, kind of outsmart it, but they do not listen to it. Part of what I work on is re-establishing or reinstating that communication in my patients, not eliminating the gut signal. Understanding what they mean is the key, because the gut, even in IBS, is communicating something. The work is learning to read the signal rather than simply managing the noise. Well, where yoga therapy and Ayurveda work together, that's a very interesting connection that we can find out. Now, here is where my particular approach becomes quite relevant, because I am not working only as a yoga therapist, I am also working as an Ayurvedic practitioner and holistic health consultant. And these two lenses applied together to an IBS body are considerably more complete than either one alone. Well, yoga therapy addresses the nervous system, the breath, the tension patterns, the postural organization, and the gut-body relationship. It works with the body's regulatory capacity, its ability to move between stress and rest, between activation and recovery. For IBS, this means working with everything I just described. That's absolutely important. The breath, tension, rhythm, reactivity. These things needs to be fixed and integrated. Whereas Ayurveda addresses something different. It addresses the underlying digestive constitution, the baseline capacity and character of this particular person's digestive system, the state of the Agni, which is the principal digestive fire, which principal dosha body they are, and which one is aggravated, what is their predominant constitution or dosha type, and how does that interact with foods they are eating, the season they are in, the lifestyle they are living. Everything is important. What is the deeper imbalance that has made this system so reactive over time? When I ask about IBS from a yoga therapy lens, I am asking, like, what is the nervous system doing to the gut? And when I ask from an Ayurvedic lens, I am asking, what is the gut's underlying capacity and why it has got disrupted? So these are two different questions, and you need both answers to understand the full picture. What I find consistently is that these two assessments tell the same story from different angles, right? The person who is living in chronic stress, breathing shallowly, eating irregularly, holding tension in the abdomen, that is also the person whose Agni is depleted, whose Vata is aggravated, whose digestive system or the rhythm has collapsed. The yoga therapy reading and the Ayurvedic reading converge here, and when they do, the intervention becomes much more precise and much more effective. But I want to say something to the person watching this who has been managing IBS for years. You have probably been giving pieces. A gastroenterologist who told you it was functional and gave you dietary advice, probably a nutritionist who put you on elimination diet, perhaps a therapist who helped with the anxiety, perhaps some supplements that worked for a while and then stopped, perhaps various online protocols you found and tried with mixed results. These are all pieces. So what you have probably not been given is someone who looked at the whole picture and pattern together holistically. Well, not just your symptoms in isolation, not your food in isolation, not your stress in isolation, but the complete picture of how your nervous system, your digestive constitution, your lifestyle, your breath, your tension patterns, and your gut brain communication are all interacting. Well, this is what changes with a proper integrated assessment. Not a new protocol, not a new food to eliminate, a map of the actual territory. When someone understands their IBS pattern at that level, when they can see the full picture rather than a fragment of it, the management becomes intelligent and precise rather than reactive. They know what they are working with. They know what actually needs to change. And the changes they make are actually targeted and meaningful rather than trial and error. That is what I work toward in my holistic health consultations. If what I have described truly resonates with your experience, if you recognize yourself in any of those 5 patterns, or if you have simply been doing the food work for years and something is still not resolved, I would invite you to consider what a proper assessment might look like. The link is in the description below. Will take you to information about working with me directly. That is where the conversation continues. Well, I'll see you in the next video. Hope you liked it. If you did, then do not forget to like and share, and also subscribe my channel for future notifications when I drop such informative videos on Ayurveda, yoga therapy, and holistic living. Namaste.